Welcome back to 128KB. This is your quick bit of gaming news where we catch up on the world of gaming this week in a short news-like video. And yes, it seems that the Steam Deck is the best thing since sliced bread, and Ubisoft are out there doing, well, Ubisoft things. Today's super awesome video sponsor is PlayVital. If you're tired of your Switch looking like it's been through the wars, or maybe your controller is slipping and sliding like a sweaty mess, then PlayVital's got you covered. They've got all the gear to keep your handheld consoles and controllers looking fresh and playing their best, from protective cases that can survive my rage quits to grips that give you that extra style and save your controller from Andy's Dorito fingers. For more information, check out these awesome cases and more on the link below. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and let's jump into it. The first story we're talking about this week is one of the most anticipated Xbox games this year, getting delayed sadly, and I am of course talking about Fable. Yes, the new Fable game has been delayed until 2026. Sad news. We got a softening blow with this story where they released some pre-alpha footage of the game. And can I just say, it's got me both more excited and annoyed about this. More annoyed that I'm having to wait longer for the game, and more excited because it looks amazing. God, it looks so good. Whether this is a delay for Playground Games to spend more time actually finishing the game as best it could be, which is probably the most likely thing, but also it does sit amongst the background of there being a jam-packed schedule in the Xbox releases and just in 2025 in general. The amount of releases that are happening this year, especially towards the back end of the year, I'm looking at you, GTA 6. It does make sense to maybe stagger some of these releases. Xbox have been big in their announcements. There's been a lot of drops coming from them, and they were keen to say that there's a lot they've not even announced yet as well. So they've got a jam-packed schedule both this year and it seems like next year as well. So delaying one of the bigger releases until 2026 both is logical and also gives Playground Games that extra bit of time to make sure that this game is as good as we all hope it should be. And let's hop into my favourite story. No, not the Switch 2. No, it's someone I've not talked about for a long time. Someone that's always out there making bad smells. Yes, it's Ubisoft. Ubisoft out here doing Ubisoft things, and this time is getting Assassin's Creed Shadows, the new upcoming Assassin's Creed game that's coming on March the 20th, I believe it is. End of March anyway. Getting the full game leaked. It couldn't happen to anyone else. It couldn't happen to anyone better than Ubisoft. So the full Assassin's Creed Shadow game has been leaked. I guess it's just been delayed one too many time for those frustrated players to wait for. And they just wanted to see how good this delayed game actually is. Well, seemingly, it's not just a little bit of the whole of the game. It's the full game that's been leaked. It's caused Ubisoft to put out an entire release about it, begging people not to engage with any content that's published and not, obviously, to share anything that they may have found, saying that they're asking people not to ruin the surprise for themselves and to, get this pun, stay in the shadows. Good one, Ubisoft. I can only assume that the reason they're so keen not to ask people to look for what's being leaked is because potentially what has been leaked is an earlier build of the game, and they are keen to avoid any kind of negativity or bad news about an underperforming game in any way. This game is so important for Ubisoft, not just because it comes off the string of, let's face it, quite a few failures with games, but also the fact that it's been so heavily delayed, and also that they've been so keen to put so much pressure on themselves about this game, saying that it's going to be the best thing ever. They need to make sure that it's a quadruple A experience. Yeah, nice on Ubisoft. The fact that it's been leaked and they're asking people desperately not to look at it, if it was the actual game and it had been leaked and it was really amazing, I mean, there's part of me that kind of thinks that maybe they wouldn't care. I think leaking is kind of almost part of the promotion cycle these days. And when it's good, it can only be good news. It can only build up hype and hysteria and excitement for the game. If it's an early build and it's bad, then that's just going to add to the air of negativity and pressure that's already around this game. It has to be good. It's got to be good for Ubisoft. I really hope it's good because there's bits of it that I look at and go, this could be an amazing game, but I've got a horrible feeling that we're all going to be very disappointed by this because, let's face it, it's Ubisoft. From things getting leaked out of hand to the rumours being confirmed, and yes, it is true, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is coming, and I am so excited for it. I loved Tony Hawk's back in the day. PS1 Tony Hawk's, yes, I was there for it. PS2, all the rest of it. The early Tony Hawk's I loved. And when they did the remasters, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 1 and 2 a few years ago, it was genuinely one of the best remasters I've ever seen. It was like playing the game again, like when I was a kid, like how I imagined it was, but actually with the kind of all the great stuff that you can have with a modern game now. So the idea that they were going to remaster the other games in the Tony Hawk series was obviously always quite exciting to me, and I know loads of other people as well, especially of a certain, let's say, vintage. And the idea of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 getting done was going to be hugely exciting. It was always talked about as a potential. We heard rumours and smatterings about it, but it's here. It's happened. We have it confirmed. We got the first kind of inclination from it with Call of Duty, weirdly, and we saw that the date was in the new skate park map, and you had the Tony Hawk's logo, and it had the 4th of March. I get the dates wrong because you Americans write them all the way around. The 4th of March was written there. So you're like, well, something's going to happen. And then the Tony Hawk, the game website has been turned into a massive countdown clock with a loading bar with the same date on it as well. There's been the posts showing Tony Hawk's himself with the loading bar saying new levels coming. So we know that something big is coming from the Tony Hawk's family. The franchise is happening. And then to top this off, to confirm what suspicions were, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 has received its official ratings in Singapore. So unless they're doing two games at the same time, we know that this is the same thing, and we are getting Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remaster, and we're going to find out about it on the 4th of March. We don't have any idea of when the actual release date will be for this game. The first rumours about this was that we would get it dropped as a shadow drop in the June Xbox Game Pass Developer Direct. Whether that's the case or not, or whether it's going to be a quicker drop now that there's so much kind of news out there about it, we're going to have to wait and see. Will this be Day 1 Game Pass? My big suspicion is that it will be. And if it is, that is just another massive win for us and you lucky Game Pass subscribers, because Day 1 Game Pass, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, that's a massive draw. It has to be a massive draw, and I am extremely excited for it. And talking of things I'm extremely excited for, this isn't really much of a news story. I just wanted to put this little footnote in before we get into the main story of the week, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles X, the definitive edition. We've got the overview trailer, is literally just been dropped by Nintendo. It looks absolutely amazing. Epic, absolutely the definitive way to play this. Andy has been on at me for the longest time that I have to get into Xenoblade. As a JRPG fan, and specifically as a Final Fantasy fan, he said, Xenoblade is a game you have to play. How have you not played it yet? You know, getting on at me. And he's pointing at this version as the way I should jump in to Xenoblade. So I'm very excited for it. I've been watching a lot about it, and it's obviously, it's exciting. The thing that really baffles me about it is how good it looks for a Nintendo Switch game in 2025. It defies expectation, it defies belief that a Nintendo Switch game could look that good, but yet there it is, and here it is looking that good. I'm excited for it. I'm also slightly torn as to whether I should jump in on Nintendo Switch or wait for the inevitable other release that's going to happen on Nintendo Switch 2, because it's obviously going to look and perform better on Switch 2 than Switch, and that's probably only going to be a few months away. So I probably am going to wait a little bit and play it on Switch 2 when that does drop. And I've got a slight suspicion that a lot of other people might. Apart from the diehard fans are going to jump in Day 1 because they want to play it. I get it. And there's new story content added to it as well. So there's added bits, more reasons to play. I get it. You're going to jump in straight away. But us more casual fans, those people that kind of sat on the fence slightly or just waiting, I think there's going to be a lot of us that are just going to wait for the Switch 2 version. So I don't know how that's going to affect sales. I may be completely wrong. But either way, it's very exciting. March 20th release. We're getting that full gameplay overview. It's a really long video. It's well worth a watch. And I guess some of it's going to be in front of my face because it's probably more attractive than my face. And not long to wait until it drops anyway. But let's jump into the main story of the week. And that is, yes, drumroll please, the Steam Deck is the greatest thing since sliced bread. That would be my headline if I was allowed to write the titles, but I'm not allowed to. This is a report that's coming out that confirms that the Steam Deck is an absolute beast for the handheld PC market. we all kind of knew this anyway, let's be honest. We all knew that the Steam Deck has been, for this new marketplace, extremely successful. And we all knew that it had been very popular, especially with console players jumping into the PC gaming for the first time. But now we have the numbers, we have the confirmation. A report from IDC, I don't know who they are, but they did the report, some kind of market research firm. Their report shows that the total handheld PC market, not the PC market, that would be tiny. The total handheld PC market for units sold between 2022 and 2024, which is when they say the market started, 22, has now hit 6 million units total. Now, I know this doesn't sound like huge numbers because we're used to talking about the PlayStation 5 hitting 70 million or the Nintendo Switch hitting 150 million. We're not even in this, they're not even in the same league. But let's face it, this marketplace didn't exist before 2022, so it's brand new. This came from zero. It's now at 6 million units. Staggeringly, the Steam Deck accounts for 2/3 of that total marketplace, selling between 3.7 and 4 million units in total in those 3 years. That really is quite surprising. It's a huge number considering how kind of niche and so specific the handheld PC gaming space is. And also, like I said a minute ago, when you consider how new it is, handheld PC market total sales was 6 million in those 3 years, 22, 23 and 24. In 2022, the Steam Deck was the only offering being recorded for sales, and they sold 1.6 million units in the first year. And it did have a pretty bumpy start to its existence. And of course, the LCD version was less of significance than the OLED version has been as well. In 2023, it's believed that the Steam Deck accounted for 50% of the handheld PC space, and in 2024 that dropped, but only slightly, to 48%, bringing the total Steam Deck sales close to that 4 million number that they're talking about. Now, there's lots of talk about the Nintendo Switch and the Switch 2 and how that might struggle compared to the Steam Deck because of hardware comparisons and people talking about the Switch 2 will only have PS4 hardware and blah, blah, blah. When you look at the numbers now, you can see that they aren't operating in the same space at all. One is a companion device, the Steam Deck. The other is a dedicated home console, that's Nintendo Switch. It just happens to also be able to be played handheld. So there's a significant difference. And obviously with the Nintendo, you can play Nintendo games, and on the Steam Deck, unless you're willing to bend the laws, you can't. So the marketplace is entirely different. There are 4 million units sold in 3 years compared to, I guess, over 100 million for the Switch in those 3 years. It doesn't really compete. But that's not the point. The point is that this was a brand new marketplace that didn't exist, zero sales in 2022, and then the Steam Deck came along and changed everything. And it wasn't a flash in the pan, despite the fact that the hardware is slightly aging. The hardware was always slightly behind the curve. That wasn't the point. That wasn't the draw of the Steam Deck, and it still isn't. The draw is its accessibility and its ease of use, and that appeals to dullards like me that like really simple gaming. I come from the console space. I like the on button to work, and then I can play. And the Steam Deck just offers that. It offers all the broadness of PC gaming, but with all the accessibility of just being able to switch on and play. And the biggest driver for all of that is not the hardware, it's not even the Steam marketplace, it's Steam OS. And we have to take our hats off to how revolutionary Steam OS has been on the Steam Deck for changing and making PC handheld gaming so accessible to such a broader marketplace. It will be really interesting to see what the impact of sales on the Steam Deck will be in 2025 and forward. As I say, the hardware is aging, and that's going to take more of a toll on its appeal because less and less games are going to be compatible, or at least compatible at a good standard. But beyond that is the fact that Valve have opened Steam OS up to other PC handhelds. We now know that it's going to be launched on the Lenovo Legion Go S in May. It's going to start shipping. And you would suspect in May as well that SteamOS will be opened up to other PC handhelds for users to be able to download and install. I'm looking at specifically the Asus ROG Ally and the Ally X. Now, Asus have been keen to come out and confirm that they won't be shipping any of their future units with SteamOS, and they're going to stick at Windows for the foreseeable future. So that brings in the other kind of part of this conversation of what would affect the Steam Deck sales, and that is what Windows decide to do with their gaming operating system and the handheld focused operating systems with the launch of Xbox OS, as we're calling it, potentially coming this year, and that the future devices will be shipping with Xbox OS. What will it take for those things to start affecting the Steam Deck's kind of dominance on the market? Will any of it affect it, interestingly enough? I would suspect that SteamOS shipping with things like the Lenovo Legion Go S, that's going to have some kind of impact, because now you have the ease of use of the Steam Deck, but the power of something slightly more powerful, and so the AAA games are a little bit more accessible. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. But of course, price points then come into it, where the Lenovo Legion Go S is going to be £650, £700. The Steam Deck still sits under that magic 500 mark, doesn't it? Even the OLED's only 480. So anyway, it's kind of really intriguing me. It's interesting to see what it's going to take to topple the Steam Deck's dominance from this marketplace. Will the Switch 2 even have an impact on it when that does launch? Because that also becomes an appeal to those more console gamers like me for a handheld device. Anyway, it's really interesting though. It's really interesting to talk about. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What is it going to take to impact the sales of the Steam Deck? And will it be dominant until the Steam Deck 2 launches? And when the hell is the Steam Deck 2 going to launch? Hurry up already. I want a second version of the Steam Deck so I can buy one. Because right now, it's taking everything in my body, all my fibres, not to buy a Steam Deck OLED. Andy tells me literally once a day, don't buy it now, wait, but I want to buy one. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you think. Jump in there, join into the conversation, and whilst you're down there digging around, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, because you get more rambles like me talking to you in the corner of the room. There's me and Andy inanely talking about all things gaming pretty much every day of the week now. Yeah, that's right. I forgot to do the segue for the sponsors somewhere in this video, so apologies for the abruptness of that as well, because I'm totally unprofessional. Anyway, there's more videos here, there's memberships down there, and all the other stuff, and I will see you next time. Bye.